the thing that frustrates me about the Afghanistan war ultimately, but about the film too, was like we pivoted so quickly from this moment where everybody kind of agreed, except for like neocons, that the war was a loser, that it was like a dead purpose, like we had long outlived, what are we doing here? You know, that question had been asked 10 years earlier and we were still there. It was almost like a societal consensus that this was bad and a loser. And that's the context within which we pull out. And then instead of like building on that for like a different kind of foreign policy or something, we get fucking it's like the Men in Black thing where your mind goes fucking blank and we go straight into Ukraine and we're like, now's our chance to fucking do it right. The Ukraine redemption of our own shit.
Everything's speed run, like things that used to take like years or if not decades to happen. Like when I think of like the transition from the Afghanistan withdrawal to Ukraine and then the Palestine genocide, it kind of reminds me of like you had Vietnam syndrome that actually lasted for a while, like, and you actually had like a real productive like reform. You know, you had the Democrats actually were like actively opposed to most of Reagan's foreign policy, at least in Latin America. You know, the Democrats were like forthrightly behind anti-apartheid during the Reagan years. And then the Gulf War is when the US tries to like rescue its dignity and its role in the world. And I feel like all of that happened in a matter of like a year or two this time. Like, and that's like the role that Ukraine played is like, no, we're good again. And not only are we good, we're kicking ass again. You know, we're going to defeat. And of course we didn't kick ass in Ukraine, you know, needlessly prolonged. I mean, I've always supported arming the Ukrainians. I think, you know, they were invaded and potentially were facing incredibly brutal occupation, and us arming them allowed most of the country not to be brutally occupied. But this mythology that needed to be rescued of American virtue, and also just the like military industrial complex that needed to find like a new arena in which to continue to do its thing and make money and all the rest, that prolonged this war. I mean, this is a whole other conversation about Ukraine, but it's amazing how quickly that you're absolutely right. I mean, like that process of forgetting and then the need to like do it all over again happened so quickly. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It speaks a lot to the moment we live in where everyone has fish brain, everyone's so distracted. There's just like no real thought taking place anymore. Like it's just all instinct.
No, I agree, but I also feel like even before Ukraine, people wanted the withdrawal to happen. People were supportive of it, but I don't know that there was ever a reckoning with this needs to happen because it's truly an atrocious thing. I think it was more just like, in a way, what was depicted in the movie, that like the US is not an immoral actor destroying parts of the world through invasions. The US is at best bumbling around, not knowing what it's doing. And that's why this has to end, because Americans are getting killed and we don't really have a clear understanding of what we're even doing there. So let's end it for that. But like, I don't know that the reckoning of like the actual fact that the US invaded and terrorized a country for 20 years was a thing that anyone was reckoning with even prior to Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, one of the arguments we make in the book Over My Shoulder here is that great power competition with China became a kind of salvation for an entire generation of national security professionals who were attached to the war on terror, were being told it was a loser, concluded themselves reluctantly eventually that it was a loser, but didn't want to examine how they ended up in that situation. There was no time for that because we actually have this perfect monolithic bad actor to deal with, who just so happens to be exactly what the national security state was designed for, which is a big single communist bad guy, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was literally too perfect.